Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's Tuesday. Welcome. How are you doing? It's another beautiful Tuesday evening, and I will be speaking today on how to prepare for global relevance. And I would just be sharing a couple of things that I have found useful in my several years of traveling internationally and living internationally as well, and I trust that this will help one way or the other. So the first thing I'm going to say is, in preparing for global relevance, see it, right? Number one is see it. You have to be thinking like it. There are many things that won't inspire anything different in us if we're not thinking it, if we're not seeing it. Now, by seeing it, I mean to see it in your mind's eye, see it in your heart's eye. You have to see. Do you see yourself go global? Do you see yourself going beyond your locality? Do you see yourself going far? You have to see it. You have to see it. You can't even begin to prepare for something you're not seeing. You can't begin to prepare for something you don't believe will happen with you. As a young man, I wanted to travel the globe. I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to be everywhere. I mentioned names of cities. I looked myself in the mirror. I introduced myself, in the eyes of my mind. I was in these places that I was introducing myself about. So, you have to see it. I was excited about it. I believed that I had a place in the global scheme of things. I believed it. Do you believe it? Do you see yourself anywhere beyond your locality? So in preparing to go global, preparing yourself for global relevance, you have to first of all see it. Now, I noticed that our motivation is always strongly connected, right, to the things that we see in our mind's eyes. People are very likely to carry themselves like what they see of themselves. People are very likely to carry themselves like what they see of themselves. So if you're not seeing the globe, you're very likely not going to get there. And even if you ever get there, if you happen upon the globe, maybe you won't make anything meaningful out of it, right? So you have to begin to prepare yourself by first seeing it. I've been on 4 continents. I've spoken in 4 continents. And then there are other places that I see in my mind's eye, and I am preparing myself. What you see shapes your behavior. Vision shapes behavior. Vision will shape your behavior. You're very likely to continue to behave in a manner that aligns with the limit of your mentality. So your thinking is very important. So I said see it. And seeing it, I mean see it in your mind's eye. By seeing it, I mean you're thinking it, you're processing it. You believe that there is a possibility that I will go beyond the locality where I function right now. You have to think it, you have to believe it, because what you see motivates you, what you see shapes your behavior, what you see will determine how you align, okay? Some people continue to be primitive in their behavior, some people continue to be Lilliputian in their thinking because they literally don't see beyond what their eyeballs can capture. Somebody said, many be the eyes that look, but few be they that see. Okay, so I strongly believe that there is a limit to looking, right? Because seeing technically goes beyond looking. I see a great future, whether it's here or not, whether my eyes can physically look at it or not, I can see it. So seeing enables you to plug into possibilities that have not been experienced. And I said there's a tendency that you would begin to carry yourself in a manner that reflects your mindset. You will begin to carry yourself in a manner that reflects your mindset. Your mindset is like a thermostat, right? It sets a certain standard atmosphere, temperature and pressure in place, and it works very hard to maintain it. It works very hard to maintain it. So you have to make sure that you do a review of your mindset, and if you don't progress, if you don't improve in your thinking, you're literally not going to improve in anything else. See it, see it, see it, believe it, and then it begins to shape you. Number two thing, if you're going to prepare for the globe, I said be strategic. Be strategic. What are you preparing for? What do you see? So based upon what you see, you would translate what you see into responsibility, and that will be your preparation, right? Now, so you have to be able to measure the enormity of what you see. You have to be able to weigh what you see on the scale of things, and then know how to prepare. Know how to prepare. Your preparation must align with the enormity of what you see. So a great future, when you say great future, you have to be able to define it in specific terms, and you have to be able to translate that into the kinds of things you should be doing now that can enable you progress into that future. We must realize that growing is the key to going. Growing is the key to going. So I would need to grow certain things if I'm going to go in a certain direction. I must grow certain things if I'm going to go in a certain direction. You will not go beyond how you grow. Your going is established by your growing. Your going is established by your growing. Now, so I know where I said I want to go. I can see something about my life. I see certain possibilities. Now I must feed on the diet that enables me grow in the direction that I want to go. You must feed on the diet that enables you grow in the direction you want to go. You can know where you want to go and never grow there. You can know where you want to go and never grow there. So, but you must translate what you see about where you want to go to the kind of diet that can enable you grow there. You see the scripture in the book of Ecclesiastes 10 and verse 15 that says, the labor of the foolish wearieth every one of them, because he knoweth not how to go into the city. He knoweth not how to go to the city. So he knows the city he wants to go, but does not know how to go there. And he's working really hard. The labor of the foolish. Just something is missing there. The labor of the foolish. The labor of the foolish. Right? He lacks the requisite knowledge. He lacks the requisite wisdom to go to the city where he wants to go. So when you identify where you want to go with your life, when you identify how far you want to go, it's important to translate that picture into the diet that you require to grow there. The diet you require to grow there. Number three, you need capacity. The truth is, we cannot be heard beyond the capacity that we build. And I usually use the example of broadcasting stations, for example. You know, from the Sambisa forests of Borno State, the Fulani herdsman carrying a transistor radio can tune up and catch BBC broadcasting from Great Britain, faraway Great Britain. He might be able to catch Voice of America. Yes, of course. I mean, we catch Voice of America from faraway places, right? Because the transmission is powerful. But you can live in the same city and not even clearly catch the transmissions of either a television station or radio station broadcasting from that same city, just because the transmission is not that strong. So how do you build this transmitter that enables you go beyond your locality? You must build capacity. You must build capacity. If you want to know the kind of capacity to build, there are many different things that you can do. One, you can look at people who already playing on the stages where you want to function and try to do an assessment. You know, a wise man said, wisdom is the ability to decipher difference. Some people don't grow because they're not able to decipher difference. They don't even know the difference between foolishness and wisdom. And then when they see wisdom, they don't know how to differentiate weighty wisdom from, you know, non-weighty wisdom, lightweight. Now, in the ranking of weights, you hear about paperweight, you hear about featherweight, you hear about medium weight, you hear about heavyweight. Weights are not all the same. Weights aren't all the same. Unfortunately, some people do not know how to differentiate paperweight or featherweight from heavyweight. If someone is featherweight and they get into the ring with heavyweight, well, hopefully they ride their wheel before hopefully they ride their wheel before they get into that ring with a heavyweight boxer. If a paperweight boxer or featherweight boxer does not realize that he's featherweight and he goes to pick up a fight with heavyweight, I'm saying he should ride his wheel before he goes, right? Just in case he does not come back alive. We must know how to weigh things. We must know how to differentiate things. We must understand that everything is not the same. Your depth will inform your height. Your depth will inform your thrust. You cannot go farther than the quality you have built into yourself. And I said, if you want to know the kind of quality that is required where you want to function, don't make assumptions. Look at people who have been established on those platforms. Look at people who have already done so very well. People who are in high demand on those platforms, and try to do an assessment of whatever it is that they do. Maybe the quality of information that they transact or the quality of whatever it is that they do. That can help you understand how high the stakes are and how you should begin to prepare yourself. Observation is another thing that you can do if you're going to be strategic, right? You have to observe. You have to observe. You have to observe. For example, you're listening to someone who tells you how many books he reads monthly. I remember back in the day, Dr. Miles Monroe would say that he reads an average of 4 books in a month. That man was one of the most sought for men globally. He spoke for everyone, government, he spoke for corporations, he spoke for churches, he spoke for different kinds of organizations. He was everywhere around the globe, that busy with such an itinerary. And he tells you that he endeavors to read at least 4 books in a month. That is a lot. I was reading somewhere, I think it was an article on LinkedIn where I think it was Bill Gates who talked about a certain book he had read, and I think he got that book, he probably got the recommendation of that book from Warren Buffett or something. But so it was one book that both Warren Buffett and Bill Gates had read. I was just pretty amused. I said, these guys, you know, if Warren Buffett is going to read a book and Bill Gates is going to read that same book, you should look for it and read. You understand what I'm saying? You should look for it and read. I heard Richard Branson one time, he said that he read a book that transformed his life, right? Well, I heard of the story of Richard Branson saying he read a book that transformed his life. And this book is titled Small is Beautiful. This man had grown at one time many years ago. His brand, Virgin Atlantic, was even a bigger brand than British Airways at one time. I don't know what the stats are right now. But again, observe. Observe. Don't just want to go. Don't just want to be. Don't just observe. Observe. What can you learn from people who are already there? One of the things that I did when I began to travel around the world, one of the things that I did was I was very interested in weighing the value and the impact of my resources, right? And checking whether I had the same results, I commanded the same attention in this country like I did in that country, in this zone like I did in that zone, on this continent like I did in that continent, in this climb like I did in that. Because now I was speaking to people from different walks of life, speaking to people of different cultures and different backgrounds. I have had the privilege of speaking not only in churches, I've spoken to organizations, I've spoken to the academia in other continents, I've spoken to a wide variety of audiences. But I really wanted to know that the way I was received in Africa, was I received like that in America? The way I was received in, Europe, was I received like that in Australia? Things like that, right? I was interested in weighing. You would do very poorly if you work by assumptions, because sometimes some people just think that they're good. But you see, thinking that you're good is not what makes you good. Confirming and certifying that you are indeed good is what makes the difference. Now, there are other observations that you can make. I would look out for feedbacks from people. I spoke at the City of Kenton Government Council meeting, and it's one that I would cherish and remember for a long time. And by the way, may I add that I had the privilege of receiving the city key. The city key is one of the highest honors that a mayor can confer on someone. And Mayor Randy Mans conferred me with the city key, or key to the city of Kenton. Yeah, city key for the city of Kenton with a citation. I still have that certificate, and I have my key. I've had all of these privileges, and I really wanted to know whether this thing was valuable just in Nigeria, or just in Africa, or in Europe, in Australia, or in America, in North America. I really needed to know. So the feedbacks that I got when I did the presentations, what attendees would say, what people who were already highly placed in society or in different walks of life would say, and how these things translated in their lives. Now, all of these feedbacks enabled me know whether what I was doing was of great relevance or not. And by the way, also, I do not remember, I, sitting here right now, do not remember one place in the world I have spoken at where they did not desire that I come back. Of course, some places I literally have gone back a couple times. Some places they desired that I would come back. Now, so all of these feedbacks gave me an idea of the quality of my resource. Again, you can speak to people who have gone ahead, people who have gone to that place where you want to go to, and have them do an assessment of what you're doing. Pretty much like Jethro coming to visit Moses, right? And he sits, this is Exodus 18, and he sits for a while observing everything that he's doing. And at the end of everything, he asks Moses, what is this that thou doest? Moses thought he was on top of his game, but Jethro told him, hey, I've observed everything that you did from morning till evening, and I've observed your methodology. I have observed. Now, this is counterproductive. If you keep doing this, it's going to do that. It's going to lead to this. It's going to bring diminishing returns. But I'm going to offer you some wisdom, and if you apply this wisdom, God will be with you, and you're going to succeed at your task. There are people who have gone ahead of us. There are people who have progressed beyond where we are. There are people who already play in the places where we dream to go. And if you have the privilege of talking with them, if you have the privilege of speaking with them, and if you're humble enough to expose what you're doing without a sense of insecurity to their scrutiny and critique, then there's a lot of information that you can get and a lot of ideas that you can have on how to improve. The next thing is to know your message. If you want to go far, if you want to go beyond your locality, if you want to prepare yourself for global relevance, you have to know your message. What is your message? What is that thing you believe you have that will be useful to somebody out there? You must have a produce, you must have a product, you must have a resource, you must have a message. What is your message? What is your resource? What is your product? What do you want to give out? For those of us who speak, right, and then for people who take either my executive public speaking class or maybe the regular public speaking class, one of the questions I ask when I'm trying to make them find their message is I say to them, if there was a conference and you had to speak 5 times in that conference, can you give me your 5 best topics that you would speak on at short notice? At short notice. So this conference is going to be in 2 days. You have been recommended to speak at this conference and you're going to speak 5 times. What would you likely be talking about? So think about it. What would you likely be talking about? So know your message, know your resource, know what you have to offer, know what you're going to be teaching. My next point is read broadly, read widely, read widely. You need a wide wavelength of exposure into information. Now, let me explain this. You're going to read broadly within your area of specialty. You're also going to read broadly in many different areas. Now, what that does is that it presents you like someone who's broad-minded. It presents you like someone who is cerebral. And plus, in my experience of reading widely, you would find little pieces of subject matter connected to your area of interest and specialty, okay, that come together in such a unique flair, in such a unique way, so that when you speak, you can angle it from many different places. Hey, see, I can teach you quite a number of things, talking from gene sequencing technology, talking from chemistry, talking from biochemistry, talking from just many different areas. I can pick little elements from many different areas to project my message. And that's because I have read widely. I've read widely. I've done quite some teaching on the law of induction. And if I start bringing that principle out of scripture, is the law of induction, okay, and I'll show you what physics says about induction, and then I'll translate it to something that already exists in scripture, and then literally connect it to you, you know. Read widely, read widely, read widely. Never say you don't have time to read. It's not true. You've just not made reading a priority. Because if you have time to watch movies for 5 hours, to follow series unending, no matter how tired you are, you're going to watch this thing for hours upon hours upon hours, and you don't have time to read, then there is a problem. If you have time to visit friends and you don't have time to read, that is a problem. It's just not your priority. Eventually, the things that top our priority will reflect in our character and outcomes. Eventually, the things that top our priority list will reflect in our character and outcomes. You know, so you want to make sure that reading is on your priority list. Every place where I am part-time, oh, there are books. Like right now, there are books on my table right now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 books, apart from these are the ones in my bag. If I open, there are books to read, right? There are books to read, and you have to read like your life depends on it, because your life truly depends on it. The next thing I like to say is, if you're preparing to go global, is broaden broaden your, okay, I'm going to try to translate that. Be more accepting of people. I was going to say broaden your acceptability. Okay. So You have to be open to meet other people. I've met people who are not open to meet other people. So you go to Australia for the first time and you're just looking for your townspeople. You come to New York, the very first thing you're looking for is your townspeople. You go to Havana, you're looking for your townspeople. And everybody else who's not your color, everybody else who doesn't have a name that sounds like yours, who doesn't come from your country, who doesn't come from your ethnicity, is a no-go area. You can't talk with them, you can't interact with them, you can't befriend them. Oh, come on. Be more accepting of people. You have to be culturally tolerant. If you don't love people of other cultures, you're not going to do well in their culture. You're not going to do well in their culture. I believe that there's racism everywhere. And by the way, we don't even need to travel out of our countries before we see some kind of discrepancy, as far as culture, ethnicity, and all of that. The same country, if I use Nigeria, for example, Nigeria probably has over 200 ethnic groups. Over 200 ethnic groups. And you can even be in the same state and not enjoy favor from some person of another ethnicity within the same state. So it's not until we go to America and cry foul and say, oh, there is racism and all. It starts from wherever we are. Now, but this is my point. For me, my experience, sincerely, I do not know whether it is easier for me to relate with blacks or to relate with whites. And I think before I lived in the United States, when I was visiting the first time, my first couple of years, I spent a lot of time with whites. So much time I spoke in so many white audiences that I started praying. And it was a prayer point. Oh God, open doors for me amongst the blacks. Lord, I just want to know how it feels. I just want to. And sincerely, the doors began to open because I was pretty much in audiences where you could look and see, oh, there's one black person there, there are two black people there, and that's what I did for the most part until I started praying, Lord, open doors for me amongst the blacks. Let me, And then the blacks here initially, of course, would be, black Americans. And then much later, I started going to, other blacks as well. So I do not know whether it's easier for me to relate with blacks than with whites. Oh, Randy Mans, don't go there. Don't go there. Don't go there. I had wonderful experiences, and Mayor is reminding me of a place called Payne Chapel. Oh my God. We'll tell the story another day, another time, but yeah, that was some pain right there, right? Anyways, so I have wonderful friends who are white. I have lived amongst them. I have lived with them. I've had great time with them. I enjoy being with them. And sincerely, are some people racist? Yes, they are, but it's not usually the first thing that I notice. As a matter of fact, I don't think I'm even quick to notice racism when it's there because my heart is so open to relate and I don't have a sense of inferiority. I think too that sometimes people have a sense of inferiority and they're too quick to say, oh, they don't like me, this one doesn't like me, and that doesn't like me. Excellence eventually will suffer no discrimination. So if you're excellent at what you do and if you know your onions, there's a certain boldness, there's a certain confidence, with which you live and walk. And sincerely, for the most part, anyone who is racist, that's their loss. That is completely their loss, but that's not going to be your focus. You have to open your heart to relating with people of other ethnicities, people of other races. Don't go to America and you're just looking for how to attend your tribal meetings. Come on, bro. No. Now, am I saying you should not identify with people of your ethnicity and attend their meetings if you want to? That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying if that's the only circle of people you're going to hang around. I've met people in America who do not resemble anyone who ever crossed the Niger Bridge in their entire lives. Because sincerely, there'll be people more polished living in Lagos and Calabar than some of these people. They just look like people who came right out of the, right out of the jungles. Because they're not polished, there's no sign that they've been there 10, 15, 20 years. And there are many others who have done so very well. My point is, keep your heart open to relate with people, expand your networks, or else you're not really going to be able to do so very well out there. Maybe one or two more. Be adjustable. Be adjustable. Every place you go to, there are things to learn. There are things to learn. Let me tell you one of the first things that I learned. And thanks to my friend, Pastor 𝐴𝐵𝐻𝐿 𝐾𝐬. And I'm going to share this experience. 2 experiences with Pastor Pam. And listen, you're going to really love them. So on my very first trip to the United States, this was 2010. I moved there many years later. But on my very first trip to the United States, right, I flew into Philadelphia. I'll never forget. I went through Germany. I went through Frankfurt Airport. So I flew from Lagos to Frankfurt. From Frankfurt, I flew into Philly Airport. That's Philadelphia. And from Philadelphia, I caught a flight to Indianapolis. So I got picked up, and then we drove about maybe 2 hours, 2 or 3 hours to Evansville, Indiana, and that was the first place I would speak. And so let me share my experience. So when I got there, my very first speaking engagement was going to be to the staff of 𝐀𝐤𝐿 Christian Center. And this was going to be a professional training for the staff of 𝐀𝐤𝐿 Christian Center. When I got there, John Maxwell was speaking on the screen. So John Maxwell was the speaker before me. I've been a student of Maxwell. I've been reading his books. And here he was on the screen, and they were taking a session with him. It must have been pre-recorded or something. However, John Maxwell was on the screen, and they were there, and I was going to speak next. Now, but I was tired, I was fagged out, I was stressed up. It was my first time in this climb as well. I was shivering myself out. I remember that in Lagos, I bought 2 cardigans. Yeah, I flew through Germany, but in Lagos, I bought 2 cardigans. For me, I was preparing for the winter because this was February of 2010. And so I bought these 2 cardigans, and in my head, if I doubled them, I was going to be fine. Oh my God. When I got to Germany, Frankfurt Airport, inside the airport where the temperature is controlled, my teeth were gnashing and my knees were like, and I had like 4 hours plus to wait for my flight to the US. And I was sitting there like that, and literally I sat like this. My 2 cardigans doubled. I was freezing out in controlled temperature. It was the first time I'll be plugged into that dimension of cold. Then I fly into the US and realize that, Lord, if you don't save your servant, then I'm dead. So, but thank God for my friends. They got me hooked up with the real deal. The real cold-proof deal, but I had suffered a little, and I had learned obedience from the things that I suffered. I remember I was throwing up in Evansville. Yes, I was throwing up. That cold was vigorous. You will literally repent if they throw you in that cold without the shirt and just say, hey, choose now between heaven and hell. So anyways, so I got to the meeting tired, cold, and all of these things happening to me, and I was in a different time zone entirely, right? I was stressed up, and I thought they would understand. So I'm sitting on the chair like this. John Maxwell is speaking to them, and I'm just waiting for my turn, and I sat like this. I reclined a bit on my chair until it was my turn. When it was my turn and I was called up, I stood up, spoke. But later on, Pastor Pam said something to me that I would never forget. And if you're listening to me, listen carefully. Look, body language is huge out there. Body language is huge. As a matter of fact, in the United States, for example, body language is a course. You can literally study body language as a course. Your posturing in a meeting, your gesticulations and all all come together to tell something about you and give an impression about you. So she said to me, she said, Pastor AK, I'm going to tell you this. The way you sat in that meeting, the way you sat, you were literally telling every one of us that you would rather be anywhere else but that meeting. I'm like, but Pastor Pam, you understand that I am tired. I've been flying over 22 hours. My body is tired. It's a different time zone. I'm cold. I've never had to go through this kind of cold. Pastor AK, this is America, and body language is everything. I needed to learn that lesson only one time. It didn't matter that I had gone through all of that and my body was speaking some kind of strange language. It mattered how I was perceived by the people that I came to speak to, and I learned my lesson. I'll tell you another one. Now, this one is funny. It also happened in Evansville on another visit. By this time, I'm cool and I'm learning the American culture. And so I go out to shop at JCPenney's. I'll never forget JCPenney's in Evansville. And after some time, no, I think I went with Pastor Pam or she probably dropped me off and came pick me. Anyways, I'm with Pastor Pam at JCPenney's and I'm shopping. While shopping, I find, I think her name was Roxanne or Rexanne or something, Rexanne Goldberg. I remember her. And Rexanne Goldberg was a friend's girlfriend. So my friend had a son. Now this friend of mine is way older, so had a son who was also, of age, and this was his girlfriend. So I had met them before and so on, and she was just friendly. Now, so we meet at JCPenney's. Oh, Rexanne, how are you? And all. And I had my hand over her shoulder or something, or maybe I was holding her by the hand and just walking through. In Nigeria, that is okay, right? In Nigeria, that's okay. It's a sign of friendship, it's a sign of brotherliness, it's a sign of fraternity. In Nigeria, that's okay. Now, but in America, you do that with someone. If you do that with a guy, now this is not your son, this is not your biological brother. Generally, you do that, your hand is over a guy's shoulder. The conclusion is that you're gay. Or you hold hand to hand. In Nigeria, two friends will literally hold hands or, hand over shoulder. They would talk, laugh, make noise as they go on the streets, just catching up with one another, So, but that's a different culture. So I had this guy who worked at JCPenney's. Interestingly, I had spoken at their church before, and he worked at JCPenney's. I didn't see him, but he stood like this. So he knows Pastor AK. He knows Pastor AK is married, and this is Pastor AK hand in hand with some white girl at JCPenney's. So his mouth is agape, like, oh, and his eyes are bulging. Thank God for God. Pastor Pam saw him and noticed how he was looking at me. So unknown to me, Pastor Pam walks up to him and asks him, do you know Pastor AK? Oh yeah, yes, I know him. He's spoken at our church. Then Pastor Pam says to him, I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And then Pastor Pam, who had been to Nigeria, at that time she probably had been to Nigeria maybe a couple times, once or twice or something. In Nigeria, that's a sign of brotherliness. In Nigeria, that's a sign of friendship. In Nigeria, friends can do that, and it means nothing. She saved me. God bless you, Pastor Pam. You saved me. So she explains to him, and he begins to thank her, like, oh, thank you. Thank you for coming along, because he was just not able to process this. For him, this guy, this pastor who's been speaking at their church, Oh, yeah. You know, he just caught me red-handed with some white girl right in the store where he works, you know. So I'm talking about cultures here. It's important to keep your heart open, learn the nuances, learn the differences that come with the different cultures. Don't just, you know, go carelessly into these places and behave anyhow. Keep your eyes open, learn. And I could tell you other things. I could tell you other things that I've had to learn. So, well, by the time I moved to the United States, I was going to live there. Oh, I mean, I'd already had like close to 10 years of orientation, going back and forth, and I was just good. I was just good. But these are things that you have to learn. Keep your heart open to the culture where you're going to. Be willing to learn new things. Be adaptable. Be adaptable to the culture. Okay? Be adaptable, and things will go well. I hope I've covered quite some content. I have to stop here. I mean, there's a whole lot I can say to people who want to prepare to go global, but these things will help you. Maybe the next time we come, I want to take questions or something. But thank you guys. Thank you for being here. God bless you guys.